Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories. My name is Matt. I know this podcast is quite new, but some of you have been following along for a while now. As you may have noticed, the narrator has changed a couple of times already in just a few months. The truth is, the podcast has been growing extremely slow, and basically nobody has left us any reviews so far. I'm here as the new voice of the podcast and would love to stick around, but I need your support to do so. Please, if you enjoy our content, it would mean so much to us if you could just leave us a review on whichever podcast platform you use. Now, take a deep breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, a place where the hush of evening enfolds you in a gentle embrace. You've come here to let your burdens slip away, to rest in soft comfort while you listen to a quiet tale of autumn's twilight magic along the rugged Mendocino coastline. As you settle in, feel the surface beneath you, supporting your body with a kind of tender stability. Imagine each breath as a soothing wave rolling in and out, carrying away any lingering tension. With every inhale, gather the calm around you. With every exhale, release the day's cares into the quiet distance. The story will take you to a clifftop retreat overlooking the vast Pacific. There, you'll watch the sun drift down, and you'll discover the cozy glow of a fireplace, beckoning you indoors. Let your breathing slow, let your thoughts loosen, and gently close your eyes if you wish. Now, allow the final bits of tension in your shoulders to melt away, letting gravity cradle you in its gentle arms. The world grows a little softer with each breath you take. A mild sense of warmth unfurls across your chest, and your limbs feel lighter, as if cushioned by gentle clouds. This is your time to rest, to be enveloped by the sounds and imagery of a peaceful evening. As you listen, picture yourself easing into a place where quiet moments linger and the rustle of leaves or the whisper of ocean breeze can lull your spirit. Feel free to let the details wash over you at a calm, unhurried pace, now sinking deeper into this restful atmosphere. You can simply let go. No tasks wait for you here, no obligations. Only the soft hush of a story unfolding, soothing you toward sweet tranquility. As twilight began to paint the sky in deepening shades of amber and rose, a gentle presence emerged along the Mendocino shoreline. Sea air drifted across tall grasses, ruffling them in a friendly dance. The cliffs at the water's edge stood steadfast and silent, their rocky foundations sculpted by centuries of wind and tide. A lone figure ambled along a narrow path, meandering among coastal shrubs and the low calls of distant seabirds. The air felt crisp, just on the edge of cool, carrying the earthy scent of moss and pine in its wake. Far below, the Pacific stretched out in shimmering expanse, reflecting the day's last rays of light like scattered gold coins on velvet. Though quiet reigned here, it was not an empty quiet. It was the kind of hush that welcomed the hush of thoughts. Warm evening light lay softly upon an old cottage perched near the cliff's edge. Nestled amid wind-sculpted cypress trees, Its walls showed decades of sea salt and sun weathered into a comforting patina that almost glowed in the fading daylight. A simple wooden fence lined the property, guiding the way to a small garden patch in front. Late autumn flowers, their petals waning in the season's chill, still offered a gentle burst of color. Time seemed to slow in this space, as though the world had paused just long enough for a moment of pure appreciation. The figure, someone curious and unhurried, lingered at the fence, taking in the hush of an autumn evening, where the land and sea met in peaceful accord. From the open windows of the cottage, the warm flicker of firelight cast faint shadows that danced across the front yard. A subtle, spicy, sweet aroma drifted out, perhaps cinnamon or nutmeg mingling in the air, suggesting that someone inside was preparing something comforting. Beyond the cottage, the path followed a gentle slope toward the cliff's edge, where a small wooden bench sat facing the ocean. The figure made their way toward that bench, lulled by the rhythmic crash of waves against rock. The setting sun gently stretched its final beams across the horizon, creating a tapestry of oranges, pinks, and pale purples that kissed the sky. Before sitting down, the figure paused, closing their eyes for a moment. A slow, deliberate breath brought the distinct brine of ocean air into their lungs, cleansing and fresh, yet softly lulling in its familiarity. Even though the day was slowly giving way to twilight, a gentle warmth lingered in the atmosphere, as if the sun hadn't quite let go. The breeze carried traces of salt, pine, and the faintest hint of smoke from the cottage's inviting chimney. It was a medley of aromas that soothed the spirit, leaving any sense of urgency to dissolve with each breath. With a measured turn, the figure finally settled onto the bench, gazing out at the wide expanse of deep blue waters merging with a canvas of fiery sky. Somewhere overhead, a gull cried out, an echo in the distance, a brief note in the great silence of the sea. The figure listened, not just with ears, but with a heart open to the tender whispers of evening. Time drifted gently, and the sun dipped closer and closer to the horizon, its glow softening each passing moment. The figure's gaze followed the streaks of color painted across the sky, noticing how they transformed from bright gold to a more subdued ochre, then to mauve, and finally began to hint at the approaching dusk. A soft hush fell over the garden and the rolling sea as the daylight exhaled its final breath. The hush was not empty. It held the soft swirl of wind, the distant hush of waves, and the rustling of leaves along the hillside. In this gentle hour, the world seemed brimming with potential for rest, reflecting the calm that enveloped everything in its path. Gathering a shawl tightly around their shoulders, the figure rose and moved toward the cottage's door. Weathered planks led the way, and the door's handle, cool to the touch, turned with a simple creak. Inside, a snug warmth greeted them, tinged by the scent of burning logs and perhaps a simmering pot of herbal tea. The cottage's interior, bathed in the orange glow of a crackling fireplace, offered a refuge from the evening chill. A plush armchair faced the hearth, surrounded by the soft shadows dancing along the walls. In front of the fireplace, a small table stood, holding a ceramic teapot and a single cup. It was a cozy tableau, an invitation to linger and surrender to peaceful moments. Settling into the chair, the figure could feel the day's travels ease from tired limbs. The flames offered a gently mesmerizing display, each flicker and spark a miniature drama played out in the quiet of night. The figure's eyes took in the room around them, rustic bookshelves with stories of ocean voyages, local lore, and timeless poetry. A soft woven rug with intricate patterns reminiscent of autumn leaves. The hush of the sea was still audible just beyond the wooden walls, an ever-present lullaby beneath the gentle crackle of the fireplace. The figure took a slow sip of tea, letting the warmth flow inward as the flavors of chamomile, cinnamon, and perhaps a whisper of honey spread across the tongue. A tranquil sense of belonging filled the space. Before long, shadows deepened outside the windows, blending the outlines of trees into the darkness. The figure rose to light a simple lantern placed on a small shelf, its glow adding another layer of comfort to the room. The faint hiss of the flame-catching wick was oddly comforting, just like the hush of the surf. Around the cottage, the world sank further into the embrace of night, and the figure found contentment in the gentle routines of settling down. A gentle scratch of pen on paper filled a quiet moment as the figure jotted down fleeting thoughts in a journal, preserving the day's observations like pressed flowers between pages. Outside, a soft wind rustled, but inside the hush was warm, calm, and steady, like a well-worn blanket on a cool evening. After journaling, the figure wandered over to a window, parting the curtains slightly to let the moonlight slip in. Outside, the sea reflected silvery paths on its surface, and the stars began to shimmer in the clear night sky. Over the distant horizon, a calm hush stretched out, as though the ocean had lulled itself into a gentle slumber. Sometimes a small wave would break with a low roar, but then it dissolved into the rolling hush once more. Each step inside the cottage felt soft and purposeful. Wooden floorboards, polished by time and footsteps, creaked gently here and there, reminding one of the house's welcoming presence. The figure felt a renewed sense of appreciation for the warm, interior light and the peaceful hush that enveloped this sanctuary. Small, deliberate tasks filled the next few moments, tidying a soft blanket draped across a couch, stoking the embers in the fireplace with a gentle flourish of the poker, refilling the teapot with fresh water, then returning to the armchair, letting the hush settle once more. The figure pulled the blanket up around their shoulders, letting the heat of the fire create a tranquil bubble of comfort. The flames danced in gentle waves, echoing the ocean's gentle roll in the distance. Shadows flickered across the floor, rising and falling like autumn leaves drifting on the breeze. It was the kind of evening one only dreamed about in busy times, a chance to savor each breath, each shift in light, each silent moment of reflection. The cottage itself seemed to breathe, the walls gently creaking with the changes in temperature and the hush of the ocean outside. Every so often, the night wind would rustle the cypress branches, sending a rasp of leaves against the roof, a subtle percussion under the dome of starlit skies. The figure watched the fireplace flame sinking further into restful thought. Memories of childhood nights by a warm hearth flickered in the mind, evoking a sense of homecoming and peace. Mendocino's scenic wonders lay just outside, but for now, inside was a place of deep solace. Perhaps tomorrow would bring another brisk walk along the cliffs, another moment spent gazing at gulls swooping low over the water. Tonight was devoted to stillness and the gentle drift of mind into the cradle of restful sleep. Yet there remained a lingering curiosity about the night sky. The figure placed the blanket aside, deciding to step out onto the cottage's small deck that faced the sea. Opening the creaky door, a rush of cool air brushed over their face, and the infinite tapestry of stars revealed itself overhead. The sky had turned a velvety indigo, with constellations gleaming like stories waiting to be told. The moon, slender yet bright, hung gracefully above the horizon. Standing there on the deck, the figure leaned on the railing and closed their eyes for a moment, letting that gentle coastal wind carry away the last remnants of tension. The hush of the waves, the distant call of an owl in the pine trees, and the faint hum of the breeze created an orchestra of night sounds that lulled the mind into soft wonder. Below, the cliffs dropped sharply to the ocean, where the water lapped and sighed against the rocks. Tiny pools of moonlight shimmered across the wave caps, flashing silver, then vanishing into the dark. The figure lingered, allowing time to slip away, replaced by a profound sense of unity with the environment. There was no urgency, no need to fill the moment with chatter or thought. The ocean's presence spoke a language of serenity, and the sky's silent stars amplified it, stretching far beyond the horizon. Standing there, it was enough to simply be, to listen and to feel the gentle flow of the night's magic. Eventually, the cool air nudged the figure back into the cottage, the warmth of the fireplace instantly embracing them. Closing the door, they pressed it gently, ensuring the latch caught so the wind wouldn't disturb the hush inside. The figure glanced around, noticing how the lantern's glow melded with the subdued firelight, creating a soft tapestry of shadows on the walls. The sensation of calm, of being welcomed by an old friend, washed over them. Easing into the armchair once more, they draped the cozy blanket across their lap. The cottage whispered reassurance. It was safe, it was inviting, and it was a place where rest was revered. The figure let the hush grow, allowing the mesmerizing lull of logs crackling to guide their thoughts towards simpler rhythms Stillness settled into every corner, and the figure began to drift on the fringe of sleep, that delicate space where dreams sometimes mingle with reality. The mind floated over images of the cliffs, the gentle sway of seaweed beneath the surface, and the comforting orange glow of autumn twilight. The hush was so complete that each soft rustle of the blanket, each faint gust of wind, seemed magnified in the pleasant quiet. This was a realm where the routine hustle of the world felt distant, where the soul could exhale and expand. Each heartbeat slowed, each breath deepened, and a tender heaviness crept over eyelids. The hush invited a warm wave of relaxation that spread through arms, legs, and the length of the spine, dissolving any last bits of tension into the sleepy darkness. Perhaps a few more pages of reading would be in order. Something gentle, a poem or a reflective passage. With a slow, deliberate movement, the figure reached for a small book from the side table. It was bound in rich, worn leather, pages softened by age and frequent reading. Fingers traced the edges, and the figure opened it to a random page, letting the words float gently into the mind. The lines spoke of the beauty of autumn evenings, of golden leaves drifting on a gentle wind, and the hush of nature's lullaby. Each sentence was a balm, weaving seamlessly into the hush of the cottage, accompanied by the distant rhythm of waves. The figure read just a few lines, letting them settle, not rushing through. Then with a calm smile, the book was closed. The mind felt quiet, gratified by the simple act of letting words resonate without hurry. Outside, the wind shifted slightly, and the night's hush continued its subtle symphony. The moon climbed higher, casting delicate beams through the window. Inside, the fire's glow was now more subdued, the embers pulsing softly, their heat still comforting. A tranquil sense of fulfillment, of being exactly where one needed to be, soaked into every breath. The figure thought of the day just past, the joy of watching the sun descend, the pastel hues that stretched across the sky, the generosity of the ocean's song. All of it culminated here in the gentle hush of a cottage perched at the edge of the world, safe and welcoming. The figure's eyelids began to grow heavier, fluttering with the onset of drowsiness, lulled by the quiet gratitude that filled the space. In that peaceful drowse, scenes of Mendocino's coastline drifted back into the figure's mind. A vision of walking along the beach at sunrise, the glimmer of wet sand beneath the feet, the crisp scent of sea spray, and the laughter of gulls overhead. The swirl of memory soothed rather than stirred. It felt like a lullaby, woven of times both recent and long ago. The mind's edges blurred, drifting between present comfort and the soft after-images of sunlight on ocean waves. Here, in the shelter of the cottage's warmth, the figure allowed the hush to fully envelop them, as if embraced by tender arms. Even the cottage's gentle creaks and the fireplace's quiet pops felt like lullabies that anchored the figure to this moment of rest. Eventually, a subtle shift in the atmosphere nudged the figure toward bed. Rising quietly from the chair, they stretched, letting stiffness fall away. They retrieved a simple brass candlestick from a nearby shelf, lighting it with care from the dying embers of the fire. The flame wavered briefly, then glowed steadily. It cast dancing silhouettes on the walls as the figure walked down a narrow hallway, past shelves lined with shells collected from the shore and smooth stones shaped by the sea. Each step felt measured and unhurried, a final ritual of the evening. In a cozy bedroom at the end of the hall, a comfortable bed awaited, adorned with soft linens. The figure set the candlestick on the nightstand, pulled back the covers, and sank into the mattress with a sigh of relief. The blankets felt cool at first touch, but the figure quickly found their warmth, nestling in, while the duvet offered a tender weight across their body. Candlelight flickered at the edges of vision, illuminating the worn spine of a seashell-patterned journal, a small vase of dried wildflowers, and a single painting on the wall. A seaside sunset in gentle watercolor. The hush deepened here, in this private nook, and each breath arrived in a slower rhythm, a gentle pulse that matched the hush of night beyond. Beneath the bed, the old wooden floor was still, and above, the timbers overhead seemed to curve like the protective ribs of a ship's hull. The figure gazed at the flame for a moment longer, letting the golden shimmer lull them into a deeper state of tranquility. A soft blow extinguished the candle, and darkness embraced the room, save for a faint glow that slipped in from the moonlit window. The figure's eyes drifted shut, and the mind roamed to the gentle pulse of the ocean. In that sweet surrender, the hush of the cottage merged seamlessly with the hush of sleep. Thoughts became softer, more diffuse, and a liquid sense of contentment washed over every cell. It felt as if the gentle glow of autumn twilight lingered, not in the sky but in the heart, warming from within. Outside, the Pacific continued its steady conversation with the cliffs, a lullaby as ancient as time itself. Now the cottage lay silent, save for the soft, even breaths of the slumbering figure. A timeless calm blanketed Mendocino's coastline. The moon ascended to its zenith, showering the sea with a path of shimmering light. The cypress trees rustled in hushful union, their branches rocking gently in the night breeze. High in the sky, stars twinkled, a galaxy of distant lights casting their gentle glow upon the sleeping land. The ocean's low roar beneath the cliffs carried tales of distant shores, and seagulls tucked their heads beneath their wings, resting until dawn. Every living thing seemed to find comfort in the softness of the late hour, as if the entire world was exhaling in contented relief. By now, even the embers in the fireplace had transformed into a quiet bed of ash. The final warmth dissipated, leaving the cottage cooler but still serene. The figure's dreams were peaceful, reflecting the tender hush that defined the evening. Fragments of autumn leaves drifting in a mild breeze, Memories of the sea's horizon tinted by a sleepy sun and the comforting glow of a hearth danced through subconscious landscapes. The night was deep yet gentle, coaxing every cell of the body toward restful renewal. Cradled by soft blankets and the lingering scent of wood smoke, the figure let go into the boundless sanctuary of slumber. Eventually the hush settled so profoundly that it seemed the night itself was standing watch. The air was cool but kind, the distant call of the ocean a near silent lullaby. In the calm darkness, one could sense the slow, methodical turning of the earth, carrying all beings toward the promise of a new day. But for now, that day was far away. Shadows reigned, not as fearsome shapes, but as gentle guardians, allowing the figure's weary mind to find the deepest rest. Here in this small corner of Mendocino, time felt suspended, each moment stretching into a tapestry of soothing quiet. Beneath that glowing moon, the scene could have come from an old, comforting story, a secluded cottage, a sleeping traveler, and the vast ocean humming its nocturnal hymn. Within that hush, tension and worry faded, replaced by abiding tranquility. The cottage, the cliffs, and the rolling sea all seemed to converge in shared intention, rest, renewal, and the slow unraveling of every hurried thought. Dreams wove themselves in delicate patterns, making use of the day's impressions. Warm fireplaces, soft twilight, the swirl of leaves. The mind recognized a safe haven and offered up images of gentle comfort and possibility, all tinted with the golden hue of autumn evening. The hours grew still and the hush did not fade. Beneath thick blankets and gentle moonlight, the figure's breath maintained a calm cadence, in and out, in and out. The hush had become a soft anchor, a space where body and mind aligned with the slow pulse of nature. Every muscle was at ease, each thought lulled into quiet. Meanwhile, the ocean beyond kept its ancient rhythm, a gentle conversation of water against stone. At times the wind might shift, rattling a branch against the cottage roof, but even that sound joined the lullaby. Night pressed on, serene and secure, as the figure drifted deeper into the realm of sleep. And so we leave this cottage nestled on the Mendocino cliffs, embraced by the hush of coastal night. Let the same hush fill your own space now, allowing your breath to slow and your body to soften. If you are still awake, feel the gentle weight of your limbs and the comforting rhythm of your heart. Imagine the lull of distant waves, the flicker of fireplace embers, and the soft glow of autumn twilight wrapping around you like a worn shawl. This is your moment to surrender to rest, to let any lingering worries drift away like leaves on a quiet breeze. Let your eyelids grow heavy, your thoughts lulled by the hush. Feel the warmth of that imagined fire against your face, the gentle caress of sea air on your hair, the reassuring creak of old floorboards underfoot. Let each sense quiet itself, no longer needing to be alert or vigilant. The cottage in the story has grown still, and so too may you. lying down in your own comfortable space, welcomed by sleep's gentle invitation. The hush weaves through your mind, a gentle tide. It cradles you in softness, dissolves all tension, and offers a safe journey into the land of dreams. Good night, dear traveler. May you find rest as deep and comforting as the hush of ocean waves and the glow of a seaside hearth. Let each breath carry you further into a gentle, restorative slumber. Drift now into that calm sea of sleep where dreams are tender and the world is quiet. Sleep well, enfolded in warmth and tranquility. Let the night's embrace guide you until the first light of dawn stirs again. For now, rest in the hush, secure in the gentle pulse of peace that surrounds you. Sleep well.